Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. This is Coffee and Crochet with Lynn, and I'm Lynn. And for those of you who don't know me, I've been crocheting for over 40 years and I am thrilled to be teaching it now. So I actually teach live classes at Lifetime, and I decided to make these tutorials to help the class, and I thought, why not put it out there to the public, and maybe I'll help a larger audience that way. Help more people. So, hello. I'm back behind the camera. You won't see me. I thought, why do you need to look at me? You don't need to look at me. You need to look at my hands and see what I'm doing, and you need to hear me. So, I know a lot of tutorials out there. They talk fast. They have a lot of fancy music and a lot of stuff going on, and I know nothing about all of that, so this is not that. This is going to be just you and me sitting down. So settle in, get ready for a one-on-one lesson. That's my intention here. I hope that you feel like this is a personal one-on-one private lesson. So here we go. Settle in with your coffee. In my case today, I've got tea. I'm drinking Stash. That's my favorite. This is not, obviously, you know, this is not promoted by anybody. This is not sponsored by anybody, but this is what I'm drinking. Licorice Spice. I've been drinking Stash for years. I love it. It's just my favorite tea. And I don't know, you probably see I have a straw in here, and that's because I have Invisalign and I'm not supposed to drink anything but water, but I do on occasion sip through a straw so that it bypasses my trays and hopefully does not affect them. So hopefully my doctor's not listening. Okay, so welcome. I'm so glad you're here. What are we going to learn today? Well, the ultimate thing at the end here, the end result, will be one of these cute little emojis. I thought this would be a simple project for my beginners in my live class. I thought this would be a simple project to teach how to read a pattern. So the main goals of today's tutorial is to teach you how to read a pattern and to teach you how to do a magic ring. So what is a magic ring? Some people call it a magic circle. Magic ring, there's what it looks like with yellow yarn. And so we're going to learn the magic ring, and we're going to learn how to read a pattern. Now this pattern is for the little emojis. It's not for the faces. The faces are completely up to you. This is for the actual, you know, the circle, the ball, the yellow ball. You're going to make a yellow ball today. The pattern I have written down here, and I'm going to follow along. I'm going to have it sitting next to me. I will load it into the description box so that you can look at it. This pattern is developed from some free ones that I saw on Pinterest, and I tweaked it and created, you know, I made it to fit my desire, to fit my needs. So emoji crochet pattern, that's what this is, without the face. So I did this one last night. This face is just felt and I glued it on. That's all this is. And I just freehanded it. And you can tell if you look really close. It's just supposed to be cute, right? Nothing too intense. This one I made a few minutes ago. I didn't have red felt, so I had to go with pink. And then as far as the keychain, so like these can be keychains, they can be just a ball that you throw. They can be a dog toy. I mean, depending on what you want to do with it. They can. I just handmade a crocheted chain for the top for this one. This one I made during the pandemic. I made it in 2020, and you can see there's some wear there. I've been using it. It has a key on it. I actually put an old bracelet on here. I just kind of fished it through the top, and it works. I always can find my keychain because it's so bright, and I get a lot of remarks, a lot of comments. People think it's super cute. I made him to look worried. So back in 2020, we were all wearing masks and we were all concerned about what was happening. So this is just a little kind of remembrance of that time. I love it, even though it's getting worse for wear. I still like it, and I will probably continue to make them. So whatever face you want to do, that's fine. But the pattern, let's turn them around. The pattern is going to be just for a yellow ball. Okay, so that's where we're going to start. Magic ring, here we go. Everything that we learn in crochet starts with a foundation chain. Like scarves and blankets, anything that lays flat. So when you started out, chances are you made something that was flat, like a blanket or a scarf or a headband, something along that line. Okay, anything that's three-dimensional, like this, is completely different. It doesn't start out flat, clearly. So you have to start out with something, the foundation. And so the foundation of a three-dimensional object like this is called a magic ring. That's our foundation. Now, this little toy can be grouped into a category called amigurumi. It's a Japanese word for crocheted or knitted stuffed doll. So any three-dimensional object you make is really technically in that category of amigurumi. And there's lots of books and tutorials on amigurumi. And when you are following that, you want to consider something before starting. And this is like a pro tip. I don't believe this is actually in the book. If it is, if it's in your book, great. This is a pro tip. When you are working with yarn, a lot of times you'll look at the label and it will tell you, okay, like this one is size 3. And then it'll tell you a hook size. The label's missing off of these yarns. I've taken them off, but these are size 4 yarns back here. And I know that the hook size is about a 5 millimeter. When you are working with and making an amigurumi style stuffed anything, when you stuff something, you want your stitches to be tighter because you don't want to see the stuffing. So if the label says size 5 hook, go with a 4. Always drop down. And so when you're beginning, I always recommend using worsted weight, medium size yarn, which is size 4 on the label. And the hook size is 5. So if you're going to make these with me today, I want you to use that size 4 yarn. And instead of using a size 5 hook, I want you to drop down to a 4. And in my case today, I didn't have a 4, I have a 3.75. So that works for me. So drop down 1 hook size so that our stitches are tighter, so that when we stuff this, and we want to stuff it very firmly, we don't want to be able to see our stuffing. So does that make sense? I hope it does. So yes, we typically, when you crochet, you have like an open weave. So if you hold up the item, you can kind of see through it. Yeah, you don't want this. That's not what you want with amigurumi style crochet. We want tight stitches. So I'm using a hook size smaller and I'm ready to roll. What do we need to make these cute little emojis today? We need a stitch counter. Any kind will work. They make all different kinds. And if you don't have a fancy stitch counter, they don't cost much. But I call it fancy because it might be something that you don't already have at home. You can use paper and pencil and write down. That's fine too. You need a stitch marker. And they come in varied styles. This one here, you just pop it in your stitch. And this one here will lock in. You can also use a safety pin if you don't have the fancy equipment, right? Highly recommend the ones that lock in because they're really quick and easy, but sometimes they fall out and then you don't know where you were. So let's go ahead. I'm going to grab my locking, kind of a safety pin style stitch marker. You need a pair of scissors and of course your crochet hook and your yarn. That's it. A stitch marker, a stitch counter, scissors, hook, and yarn. I think that's it. We're going to make our magic ring. So there's what it looks like. It's laying in the background. We take the tail end and we put it in our hand, gripping with our thumb. We wrap it around our hand, or you can wrap it around a couple of fingers, but let's go with the hand. That's all we do is wrap it around one time. We take that yarn that's in our right hand and we cross it over. That's it, just cross it over. And now we bring that back down and put that yarn under our thumb again. Turning our hand over, you see we have two strings, two pieces of yarn. We're going to take our hook underneath the first one, and then we're going to grab the second one. Pull it, and then twist so that the hook is facing up. Now try to loosen it up a little bit. We're going to reach back and grab that back yarn and secure that, pull it towards. Now it's going to be a little tight, so I'm going to let go and then grab so that I don't lose control. And I'm going to pull that through the loop. So now we have a circle. Now I'm going to gently pull that tail end out. You don't have to, I just do. So here's what we've got. If I lay it down, you can see what it looks like. Okay. That's not the magic ring yet. That's how we're getting started. We're going to go through that one more time. I hope I'm getting this in the camera okay. So tail end in our hand, secure it with our thumb, wrap it around. Now when we pull it back up, we're going to cross, just crisscross, and then bring that yarn back around and put it underneath our thumb again. Turning our hand over so we have two pieces of yarn. Go underneath the first one, grab the second one and pull it under. Twist so that the hook side is up, and then we kind of loosen it a little bit so you have some leeway, and then we're going to grab that piece of yarn that's in the back and pull it through. I'm going to let go so that I have a little leeway. For some reason I want to try it one more time with you. I'm trying to get it to where you can see it really well. So wrap around, cross over, pull that yarn back under, secure it with your thumb, turn it over. Let's reach under, pull that yarn under, twist so that our hook is up. Now see how there's that back piece of yarn here? We're going to reach for that. Pull that up, and then we want to pull it through the loop. But because it's kind of tight, I always secure it here, pull my hand out, and then gently just pull that yarn through that little loop. Let's take the tail end and pull it out. I'm telling you, this is the hardest part. It's getting started. A lot of people hate this, but once you get it, you're going to be so glad that you did. The sky's the limit on things you can make in the round. And in the round, you have to start with a magic ring. So that's the beginning of our magic ring. Once you get to this point, we're going to lay this down and look at our pattern. I'm going to walk you through this step by step. Now I covered up the pattern with some sticky notes because I don't want you looking at all of the whole pattern at once. It can be overwhelming to look at an entire pattern. You see all this and you can get discouraged. So also you can get confused. What line am I on? So just for starters, just for until you get used to it, I've covered up the directions all except round 1. Now what does it say round 1? Probably up till now you've worked on flat items, as we talked before. Scarves, blankets, headbands, things that are flat. And so We refer to those as rows. Row 1, row 2, row 3. When you're working in the round with the magic ring, the pattern is going to say RND, and that'll mean round. So round 1, magic ring with 6 SC. SC always means single crochet. So magic ring with 6 single crochet equals 6 stitches. Let's do that. So here's our beginning of our magic ring. We want 6 single crochet. I'm going to keep the tail just hanging there. It's not a problem at all. It's just we're going to work single crochets around the tail and inside the loop. So here's 1 single crochet. I'm assuming you know how to do single crochet at this point, or you wouldn't be this far. You wouldn't have clicked on this video. Go back to one of my other videos, or actually right now I only have one video up right now, or go to a YouTube video, someone's, and learn how to do single crochet and master that before moving on to this. So 6 single crochets inside this ring that we made. I'm going to stop and count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 1 more. So it should look like, I'm going to pull this tail out. It should look like this. It should just kind of look very odd. All right. So here's where the magic comes. We have 6 single crochets worked inside that ring. I'm going to take the tail and I'm going to hold my work. I'm going to hold those 6 single crochet in the other hand. And I'm going to pull the tail again. Pull it pretty tight until you start to see it form a ring. Now, in order to get that to close up, we want it to close 100%. Remember, we have this ring right here. We're going to do a slip stitch in that very first little loop that you see. A slip stitch is merely a means to get from one point to another without adding a stitch. So I went inside the first loop. I'm going to pull up a loop, and then I'm going to go through that one and the one on the hook. That's not a stitch. It's just, well, it's called a slip stitch. You're not adding anything. You're just bringing 2 pieces together. A slip stitch. So now you have your ring. If you can see in the very center, if you can see a hole, that means you didn't tie it, or you didn't pull the tail hard enough. So go ahead and give it another tug on both working yarn and tail side. And make sure that that is pulled together. And that's your magic ring. There you go. We're ready to start making this cute little emoji. All right, we're going to move on to round 2. Okay, so we're ready for round 2. Round 2 says, increase in each stitch around, 12 stitches. What is an increase? Or what does INC mean? I should back that up. INC always means increase. Increase is 2 singles in 1 stitch. 2 single crochet. That's what an increase is. So when you see INC, you know that means 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So we're going to go ahead in the first stitch. There's 1 single crochet and then another single crochet in the same stitch. If you are not comfortable with single crochet, I suggest that you go find a tutorial that teaches you how to do that. I do have one, so if you want to look at my other video, I'm brand new to this and this is just my second video. My first one was about single crochet. Okay, so we've done 2 in the same hole or the same stitch. Now I'm going to mark that very first stitch. I'm going to put it into the top loops of that first stitch. Make sure it's locked in, and now we know exactly where we started. So let's do 2 single crochets in each stitch around. That is called an increase because we are increasing the circumference of this circle. That's why it's called an increase, because each time you do one of these, you're increasing the size. All right, I'll slow down into the next stitch. There's 1 single. My tension's just right. And now you can see where you're supposed to go, right into that same stitch. We've got 2 in each stitch around. Each of those 6 single original crochets. And if we do 2 into each one, we should end up with 12. Adjust that tension. Let's count. That where we marked it is first one. So let's go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So that's perfect. All right, that's round 2. Now let's go to round 3. Now we're getting to the fun stuff. Round 3 says increase, comma, SC, single crochet, around, equal 18. So we're going to increase, which is 2 stitches into 1, and then a regular single crochet. The reason why it's in parentheses is because we're going to repeat that series until we go all the way around. This one, and then this one, then this one. So let's do it. We're going to take our marker out and go ahead into the next stitch, single crochet. And remember that first stitch was an increase. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 and mark my very first stitch. So there's my perfect circle. What do I need to do though? I need to make sure I count my next row. Mark it, whether you have a stitch counter or you're using paper and pencil, because you could have to stop. Life gets in the way. You could have to go tend to dinner, children, grandchildren. You could be tired and just ready to stop. You might come back 5 minutes later. You might come back a week later. You don't know. So this helps you keep track. Okay, round, what did we say? I get sidetracked easily. Round 3, increase, single around. So 2 in 1 stitch and then a regular single. Let's do it. I already did the first increase. So the next stitch is a regular single crochet. Then the next stitch is an increase. 2 into 1. Then the next one, a regular single crochet, just 1. And then the next one is an increase. 2 into 1. I'm going to do that around. Single, increase. 2 singles. Regular single crochet. And an increase. 2 into 1. Just repeating this back and forth here. I usually keep my yarn down at my feet in a bag so it's not bothering me, but I wanted to talk about the yarn. So when I finish this, okay, sometimes you have to look, what did I do here? You know, I'm talking to you on this camera and I'm getting a little sidetracked. To be honest, this is not easy. Doing a tutorial is not easy. Okay, so it said we should have 18 stitches. So let's count. It is very important you count each time, because if you get off early in the project, you know it's not going to turn out. It's not going to turn out. So let's count our stitches. The first one being the one we marked. So here we go. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Perfect. Perfect. Now I noticed that the little center hole where we did our magic ring started to loosen up on me. So I'm going to take that tail and pull it so that it closes up. Yeah, that's all you have to do. Just tighten it. You don't want a hole. So there we go. Round 3 complete. Now I'm going to click my stitch counter, my round counter, and we're going to go on to round 4. Round 4. Increase 2 single around, equaling 24 stitches. So we're going to do 2 into 1 and then 2 singles as normal. I'm going to do a couple and then I'm going to do it off camera so I don't take so long. So increase first, and I'm going to put my marker back in because this is the round change. There we go. So it said increase and 2 single. So there was my increase. And now I go into the next stitch, single, single, the next stitch. Then the next one, we start that over, an increase, 2 singles into 1, and then single crochet, single crochet. We're going to do that around. Let's look at the pattern again. Increase, 2 single around. They're in parentheses because that's the sequence we're going to repeat. When patterns get a little more challenging and you have a lot of changes, these parentheses are very important. This is a very beginner pattern so that you can start to learn how to read a pattern. Trust me, those parentheses are very important later down the road. I'm going to go ahead and increase. That's 2 into 1, single, single. All right, let me finish this round and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's the end of row 4. I was going to mention about the yarn. I've seen people on different crochet Facebook pages talk about when you get a mess of yarn and sometimes it gets clumped up and it gets knotted up. One way to avoid this in the middle of a project is to roll your yarn first. So if you go ahead and just roll it gently into a ball, you know you're not going to end up with a knot in the center of the skein. So this is a fun project to do, like with your kids or your grandkids. Say, let's roll the yarn, and then you don't have to worry about ending up with a knot. Okay, let's go on to round 5. Increase 3 single 6 times for a total of 30 stitches. So we're getting larger each time we go. Increase is the first one and 3 singles. So we're going to remove, do an increase, those 2 singles. Go ahead and put my stitch marker back in the top of that first stitch, marking round 5. Remembering to check off my counter. So I did my increase. Make sure you spread it apart a little bit so you get into the right stitch. We're going to do 3 singles. It said increase and 3 singles. So we'll do that all the way around. I'm not going to do that all on camera, but again, that's an increase first and then 3 singles. And I will be back when I have this round done. Okay, so I'm at the end of round 5, and let's count our stitches. We should always count at the end of each row or each round. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. So I have exactly the amount I need. So I'm going to mark my next row, take my stitch marker out, go ahead with the next stitch, place my marker back. Now we are on round 6. Let's look at our pattern. Round 6, increase 4 single 6 times for 36 stitches. So I'm going to do the same thing. Increase 2 singles in one, and then 4 singles as normal, 6 times. And I'll be back. You could watch TV easily and do, because you don't have to worry about missing, making a wrong move, right? It's just one stitch after another. When you're reading a pattern, I don't suggest watching TV. So be concentrating on it. Now, when you get really good at it, maybe then you can. But I tend to wait and save like this part where I'm just going around and around and around. I save that part for watching TV generally, because I want to focus on the directions. So I'm not going to do all this on camera. I will be back at the end of row 15. I'm just going to keep going around. Make sure you click each time you go around and change your stitch marker. And when you get to the end of row 15, we'll be ready to start the decrease. And I'll explain that coming up. Okay, I just finished row 15, and this is what it looks like. We will shape it into a more round piece after we get done with it and we stuff it. But this is what it should look like. And before we move on any further, I'm going to address this tail that's hanging in the back, or hanging in the bottom. That was our magic ring in the beginning. So if you see a little tiny hole in the center, I want you to hold on to the magic ring area and pull that tail. And make sure that that comes together. Make sure that there's no hole there. And just to secure this, this is not necessary. It's not in the pattern at all. But it's an extra step. This will secure it so that it never will fall, you know, never come apart. I have never had one come apart, and I just recently started doing this, but I think it's a good idea. So I split the yarn in half. I'm going to tie it. Like I said, it's not necessary really, but I want to keep that from opening up in the future. So I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to put my hook through there, grab the yarn, and then pull it through to the inside. And then just leave the tail pieces in there. And now we have that hidden, and there's no hole. Magic ring is secure. So we're ready to move on to row 16. We're going to switch our marker to 16, our counter. I always say counter marker, get it confused. Okay, so let's look at the pattern before we move to the first stitch. It says round 16, DEC, which means decrease, 4 single. And we're going to do that 6 times for a total of 30 stitches. So if you remember row 15, when we did rows 7 through 15, we had 36 stitches around. Now we are decreasing our stitches down to 30. So let me show you what a decrease is. We're going to put 2 stitches into one. Go through and then go through a second one. Pull up another loop. We have 3 on the hook. Draw up a third, pull it through. So we just took 2 single crochets and created 1. That's called a decrease. I'm going to mark my stitch. That is the first. The pattern said decrease and then 4 single. So decrease, and then 4 normal single crochets. Okay, I'm almost at the end here. Let's go ahead and finish up together. We're going to do one last decrease for this row. What? The 3, I should have did that slower. Let's do that slower. Go ahead and pull up through 1 single, and then go up and pull up through another single, and then go through all 3. And then 4 singles. 2, 3, 4. And we always count to make sure that we did that correctly. If we didn't, we have to back it out a little bit and redo to correct it. And it's easier to correct it now than later. All right, let's count. Starting here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. Notice how I turn my stitches up so that I can see the little V's. You can see the little V's. That's how I count my stitches. I turn it up. So I have 30. It's right exactly where I want it to be. We're moving on. And 17, row 17, round 17 rather, decrease, and then 3 single. It's for a total of 24 stitches. So we'll do that first decrease, and then we'll go ahead and mark our work. And then 1, 2, 3. We did 4 last time. This time we're doing a decrease and 3. Now sometimes I want to bring up the fact on certain patterns, sometimes it won't be written as a DEC as it is on here. Decrease. Sometimes you'll see it written as SCTOG or SC2TOG, and that just means single crochet 2 together. Same thing. Sometimes the patterns will say this, means the exact same thing. Bring 2 single crochets together into 1. So we're going to go around a decrease and then 3 singles. And I'm going to turn the camera off and finish this row, and I will be back. Okay, we're ready to move on. I just finished row 17, 24 stitches. I counted, I had exactly 24 stitches, so we're good to go there. The pattern says, if using, see me get up close enough you can see it. If using safety eyes, place the eyes in at this time, wherever you decide they look best. Stuff 3/4 of the way with polyfiber fill. So, if you are using safety eyes, they come in a little box with varying sizes, and they have a backing so that you can place them on so that they're safe, so that they're not a choking hazard for small children. So I'm going to place mine. I chose to use the bigger ones. That looks good for me. And then I'm going to place the backing on until it snaps on. Make sure that you feel that it's on there securely, and then you're good to go. Sometimes you feel a little snap, and 9 times out of 10 you don't. You just you can just feel it. There we go. That went on real well. So there's the eyes. We're going to stuff it. Being careful not to mess your stitch up here. I usually pull that stitch open a little bit, a little higher, make it big, so I don't let that go. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some of that stuffing in. By the way, you do want to overstuff these, but not right now. This is the first stuffing. So we're just going to go 3/4 of what we can do at this point. We're going to finish stuffing it at the end. All right. And as you probably noticed, I'm drinking a little, something a little different. It's evening now. Not sponsored. Just one of my favorite low-carb drinks. Evening drinks. Okay, so I'm going to clean that up. We're going to move on to the last couple of rows. We are almost done. Moving on to row 18. We're going to unlatch this. Row 18 says decrease, and then 2 single. So we're doing the first decrease. I'm marking my row, marking my round, making sure that I click that counter. And now we're just, this is going really fast at this point. We're only doing two singles, and then right back to a decrease. At this point, hopefully you're really comfortable with the decrease now. 2 singles. And I'll be back when I finish this up. Okay, I just counted. I am finished with row 18, and I just counted, and I have 18 stitches. Ready to move on to row 19. Row 19 is a decrease and a single all the way around. So there's my first stitch, which was a decrease. Mark that beginning. So 1 decrease and 1 single. Let's go back to the pattern. Round 19, decrease, single. So that's 2 singles into 1, and then a regular single. We'll do that 6 times for a total of 12 stitches. Decrease and single. And do you notice how this is closing in? It's magic. I told you that thing at the beginning we did. Remember what it was called? A magic ring. And when you work it in the round like that, this is turning into exactly what we hoped. So let's continue on. A decrease and a single. Okay, I'm at the end. We should have, sometimes you forget, yeah, row 19. We should have 12 stitches. So let's count them. When it gets small like this, I just start using my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that last one is 12. So we're perfect. We're right on where we want to be. And I just want to mention, if you get to the end of a row and you have an extra stitch, an open stitch, or if you get to the end of the row and you weren't able to complete the sequence, let's say you see how it says decrease single times 6. If you were not able to do that 6 times and you're at the end of the row and you have an extra stitch open, or you weren't able to complete that last single, that means your count was off. So make sure, that you have your count correct. When it's getting close to the end, it's not a huge deal. You're going to be able to finish it. But it's just a good rule of thumb to always count your stitches. If they're not right, fix that row before you move on to the next row. So at this point, we're getting ready to finish with the last round. So we have to finish stuffing. The more that you can fit in here, the better. So we need to try to overstuff. And remember, I like to pull this loop up, make it nice and big so we don't lose it. We don't want to stuff it. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take my marker out. We don't really need it at this point. This polyester fiber fill can, over time, and it will, over time, compress and cause your doll, your amigurumi, to lose its shapes a little bit. So overstuffing is always the best. So if you look at this old one that I did back in 2020, you can see that it's quite a bit softer than this new one that's more firm. And that's just because it's been well loved and well used. But maybe I didn't put enough stuffing in it. So that could be. I need to get some more stuffing. I just buy the big bags. I usually buy them at the end of the season. Joann Fabrics always marks them down. I get a big, huge bag. I'll show you what I buy. I don't buy polyester fiber fill per se, even though that's what this is. Let me show you what I buy. Oop. This is called Buffalo Snow, and everybody uses it at Christmas time. And boy, I get this huge bag for just a couple of dollars when they mark it 75% off. And so I stock up for the year. Sometimes I buy enough to get me through a few years. So that's just a little pro tip. Stock up, because once you get hooked on this, you're going to want to have this stuff on hand. You have a gift idea you want to make really quick. You don't want to have to go shopping for everything. Hopefully you can make something with what you've got on hand, right? So here we go. That's pretty stuffed. We're going to finish the end. The last row says decrease times 6 to close the top. So that's all we're going to do. We're going to close this up. Push your stuffing down. Here's the first decrease. Pull it tight. Second decrease. Push down. Kind of working with everything here. You're working with the stuffing, your stitches being tight, making sure you don't miss a stitch. It's pretty easy at this point because you can see what you've got left. We're just closing that gap, closing it up. I think we have one more maybe. Kind of lost track at this point. You know that when you get to the end, you know you're done. So even if you have to do an extra one, just because, it's okay. And there you have it. The top is now closed. So let's cut our yarn off. We don't need any tail, really. We don't need anything. I'm going to just do one little chain there. Pull that down. And what I always do is split my yarn and then tie it off, just like I did the magic ring in the beginning. Give it some extra strength. I might do 3 ties. And then to push this in, to weave in the ends, to hide the ends, I take the back end of my scissor, the part that's not sharp. I find an area that looks like would be a good space to push this in, and I just back that yarn in, hiding it into the stuffing. And that is it. That is it. She's closed up. Just use your fingers to kind of shape this to exactly what you want. All that's left on this is the mouth. I'm going to do a happy face on this one, and maybe some eyebrows. Yeah, we'll do eyebrows and we'll do a mouth, and I'm going to use black yarn for that. This is my favorite way to make an emoji. Now with these, I did use felt. If you want to go with felt, we mentioned that in the beginning. I freehanded that. I just drew out the shape I wanted and I cut it and glued it. That's how that went. This one was safety eyes and then yarn for the eyebrows. And then I made a mask. There's no mouth. You think there's one. And this one was just cut out, felt, and glued. So this one I wanted to do the safety eyes, and then I'm going to show you how to make the mouth and the eyebrows with the yarn. So that's going to be the last step. Okay, we're going to finish our project. I have taken the next step and just marked where I want the face to go. I'm going to make a smiley face here. So just get an idea of where you want the smile line to go. And you don't have to use the pins. I just did it so that you could visualize what we're doing here. Most times I don't even use a marker. You could use an actual Sharpie and put a dot there, but I don't really like marking up my work. So a pin works great. You do not have to use a stick pin though. You don't have to. All right. So take about 20 inches of yarn, black yarn, and your needle. Squeeze the end of that yarn and thread the needle. Now there's lots of different ways you could go about putting a smile line on this fella. I'm going to show you the way I do it. If you don't like the way I do it, you'll figure it out. It's not that hard. So we're going to insert the needle into that first one, and then I'm going to pull the other pin out and come out the other side. So I can really see where my smile line is going to be. By looking, I can visualize that. That looks good. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my thread through, leaving a nice long tail over here for tying off. Now we can see where the smile line is going to be. And how cute are you? Hello. That's where the personality comes out, is when you do the smile, the face. I love doing the face on all of my dolls. So let's go ahead and insert right into that same hole where we were before. And then we're going to come out right where that lower pin was. Pull your thread. Don't pull it too hard, just pull it enough to where you like what that smile is going to look like, right? Okay. I'm going to insert my next stitch right into where that one came out. Pull this pin out and then bring that out right there. So you can see I inserted where that lower pin was and I came out where the other pin was. Make sure I don't catch my smile line. I don't want to put my needle through the thread. This is just going to be a stabilizing thread. Now I can lift this up, see where I'm at. I want to insert right in there where I was at. And then I'm going to go back up to where I started. Make sure I'm in the same hole. Yeah, same stitch. Very gently pull that. We want that to kind of blend in. I mean, you don't have to add those stabilizer stitches. You could just do this without the stabilizers, those 2 stitches, and you could just put a little glue under the smile line. Totally fine. Totally fine. This is just one method. I'm going to go ahead and cut that and tie it. And I know you're thinking, what? As an extra precaution, because I'm a little OCD when it comes to my projects, I don't want them to fall apart later down the road, years down the road. I want these to last. So I split off. Black is bad. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Black is bad to see. Hopefully it's coming through on camera. Okay. And then I'm going to take this mess of a finish and just tuck with the back end of my scissors. I'm going to tuck it into the next stitch right there. And hopefully the goal is that it all is hidden. And like magic, it is hidden. Hello. Not liking Okay, if you don't like how it turned out, you can kind of play with that a little bit. It's showing a little bit more than I want it to. Just some yarn is pretty forgiving. You can kind of play with how it's sitting there a little bit. So there you go. I'm happy with it. Hello. So I'm going to put some eyebrows on, and we will do it the same way. And those will be real quick. Okay, for the eyebrows, same thing. You can mark where you want them to be. Do you want, right on top? Do you want him to have a silly expression? This is where you give him or her some personality. So I think I'm going to go with that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it looks like. So you can play with these eyebrows. This is, to me, the expression all comes through with those eyebrows. Ah. There was a show that I always watched called Reba, the comedy. And if you know what I'm talking about, Van was so funny in that show, the character Van. And he had a smile that he thought was a great smile, and it was a really creepy smile. And these are what I call my Van eyebrows. Although I'm not sure these are turning out quite as large as I want them to be, I can show you how to take them out and start over. No, I kind of like it. Look how he just came to life. Like, seriously. His little expression is cracking me up. So that's a little tight, so I'm going to take the back end of my needle and just kind of loosen it up a bit. Excuse me. Yeah. You could make these as long or as thick as you want. You could go back over it again and make these, shape them however you like. So we're going to finish by tying and cutting off. All right, cutting first, which I already did. Sometimes I say my words backwards. I cut most of it off, right? And then I tie it. I'm just doing an extra tie. This is what I always do. And if you don't like the eyebrows, it's super easy to redo them. Just cut them off and then, pull out as much thread as you can and then try again. Take the back end that's not sharp, because I don't want to risk cutting anything. And I'm going to insert and just hide all this down underneath. It's just extra stuffing. Voila! Magic! And there's my cute little guy. I hope you enjoyed making this, and I hope that you will continue to make these for gifts. And how fun are these guys, right? How fun are they? So we started out with 3, and now there's 4. How many can you make? You could do different colors. You could seriously go crazy with this pattern. You can do whatever you like. So if you like this, I hope that you will follow my other videos. This is only number 2. This is only my second video. But I hope to bring you more in the future. Let me know what you'd like to learn. Now, if you subscribe to my channel, you will be notified of any upcoming videos. What you want to do if you want to be notified by phone is go into your settings first, click settings, and then go to notifications, and then scroll down to YouTube, and make sure that your notifications are set to green so that you will be notified. So if you don't have that done, then you won't get the actual notification, and you'll just have to go in and look and see if I have a new one put up. All right, thanks again, everybody. Appreciate it. Cheers. Happy crocheting. And we'll see you next time. All right, bye.